With so many exotics to choose from, there's always fresh builds to make, with some that are whack and some that are wild. So today, let's talk about Stormdancer'S Brace. Stormdancer's been getting a lot of playtime from me since it was changed with the launch of Renegades, and I honestly still can't get enough of it. I don't remember the last time my opinion on an exotic has done such a drastic turnaround, but I'm really happy to see Stormdancers and Stormtrance get the love that they deserve. In my opinion, Arc Warlock struggled for a while with defining its identity, as it was clearly meant to be the damage-focused subclass, but without exotics like Geomags on, its supers never felt that great, and its neutral game was often more effort than it was worth. Over the last year or so since Bungie introduced Ionic Sentry and Bolt Charge to the game, I think Arc Warlock has finally found its footing as an extremely well-rounded and fun subclass. A lot of that success is thanks to summons, which have benefited massively from some of the newer system changes, and Arc far and away utilizes them best. Ionic Sentry and Arc Soul both strike a fantastic balance between their individual outputs and their synergies within the subclass, making them both extremely fun to use and really impactful to build around. I've talked a lot on this channel about how I tend to prefer builds that are well balanced between gunplay and ability use, and in my opinion, Arc perfectly embodies that idea, with Stormdancers being its perfect pairing. If you're unfamiliar, the way Stormdancers works is when you're using the Stormtrance super, dealing damage or killing enemies grants you stacks of ascending amplitude, which increases the damage of your super by 400% at max. When the super ends, you also get up to 30% of the energy refunded depending on how many enemies you defeated, and dealing damage with Arc abilities grants you stacks of Bolt Charge. While the super benefits are amazing and self-explanatory, it's really the Bolt Charge generation that steals the show for me. It's awesome to have such a fun and effective super, but in between those supers, Stormdancer still shines bright, as it doesn't feel like you ever have to slow down with how much your abilities can do in the neutral game. Since Sentry already generates Bolt Charge intrinsically alongside what it generates through Stormdancers, pairing it with Arc Soul and Spark of Frequency, you can generate a ludicrous amount of stacks. When everything gets rolling and you've got both your summons up, you can easily drop a bolt every second or sometimes even faster, as you can see in this clip. The stacks happen so fast I'd sometimes get 6 or 8 of them at once, and the instant a bolt dropped, I'd already be most of the way back to the next one. For me, what makes this such a fun addition to Arc's kit is how tangible these improvements are. There's a very satisfying level of feedback you get from Bolt Charge, as with many abilities or effects in the game, where you get the perfect sounds and visuals to feel exactly what's happening, and Stormdancers takes that up a notch. You can hear the lightning striking, you can see the bolt coming down, and just relying on that sensory feedback, you can pick up on how quickly and how often those strikes are landing. You don't need to watch the stacks go up to know how fast it's happening, and as a result, the blistering pace that Stormdancer's set not only performs much better, but it feels much better. Now, I'm obviously not a game designer, but from the perspective of a player, that tangible feedback is extremely important, and I think it's what makes something truly feel powerful. I'm often drawn to or away from certain weapons, in example, purely based on their sound design, as a gun that sounds weak can feel weak even if its performance on paper is not. A great example for me is Ancient Gospel, which is a terrific hand cannon, but unfortunately it kinda sounds like a Nerf gun. Even though it has great perks, is a 140, which I prefer, and has good stats, it never stuck with me as its sensory experience made it feel weak. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Zauli's Bane, which has this monstrous roar to it every time you shoot, and paired alongside explosive rounds to match its huge sounds, I get this matching sense of feedback every time it fires, which makes it feel extremely powerful. This is present for me in every aspect of the game, where as a player, I'm always looking for something that can make an impact on my gameplay over something that just bumps up my numbers. I've spoken about it many times in my videos, but I'd always rather use something that's fun or interesting or unique over something that's just objectively strong but boring. This idea is particularly interesting to me, as just last episode I covered Dawn Chorus, which I ended up really disliking, not because it was bad or performed poorly, but because it had no tangible impact on my gameplay. While on paper it offered a lot, in practice it offered very little for me as a player, and it entirely came down to me never being able to truly feel what it was doing during combat. Stormdancers is the opposite for me. While it does perform excellently on paper, it also just feels fantastic to use. the improvements that it offers are again always felt and always feel extremely valuable. My neutral game would hit harder with all the extra bolt charge, clearing crowds faster meant that I had more uptime on sentries to cause extra bolts and jolt, the 30% super refund meant I was generating supers in literal seconds, and every time I popped a super, I got to feel it power up as I tore through enemies until I was just turning everything in front of me to dust. It does help that these benefits provide objective performance improvements, but above that, for me, they just make a genuine impact on gameplay, which elevates what Arc already has on offer. To compare it to Dawn Course again, in the video, I commented that its improvement to the Daybreak super were sort of a non-starter for me, as it only increases the damage now that the super scorches intrinsically. As a result, the super wasn't any more fun to use than it was at base, because nothing about it really changed other than the numbers, and it didn't require me to use it or engage with it differently. It was just a bit better. I could, of course, feel that damage improvement, which was great as I discussed in the video, but in my opinion, it didn't make the super any more fun to actually use. With Stormdancers, the damage improvements comes from something tangible through your gameplay and how you use the super. It doesn't just provide a blanket increase to its damage, it gives you the option to increase the damage based on how you utilize it. Maybe you just want to put all the damage on a single target and let it ramp up as you do so, or maybe you want to clear some ads first to get the damage boost going. Maybe you just want to wait to use the super until more ads are around, or maybe you need to reposition before dropping it so you can catch as many enemies in the lightning as possible. While this isn't the most revolutionary idea per se, what I'm trying to get across is that there's a distinct gameplay element to this part of the perk that's not only fun to use and effective, but also impacts how you use it or why you would use it. The super refund and the bolt charge increase don't necessarily require the same adjustment to your playstyle, but they improve your neutral game in a way you can feel as you hear bolt charges rattle off, which makes your exotic choice and your build feel impactful at all times. This makes exotics an interesting case in Destiny, as they represent a high level of power and rarity, but at least for me, that's not quite what makes them feel exotic. For me, it's their uniqueness, their impact, and the fun that they can provide. There wouldn't be much point to build crafting as a whole for me personally if my entire objective was just to use the strongest thing available, as I probably would have spent the last year running a single prismatic build. This, however, is just an opinion, and once again comes down to a personal preference and my approach as a player. You might completely disagree with me, and your focus may be on objective performance only, but I think that's what makes Destiny so cool. It kind of all falls on a spectrum where you're given the freedom to do whatever you'd like with the tools at your disposal and take them as far as you can push them. As I get older and as I put more time into the game, I become much less interested in achieving those huge feats or those crazy numbers and more invested in experimentation and in fun. With that all in mind, I think Stormdancers is nothing short of incredible, as it offers that fun and that experimentation while also offering fantastic performance. It's the kind of exotic that reminds me why I love build crafting, why I love Destiny, and if these are the kinds of changes Bungie's going to be cooking up in the future, I'm very excited to see where this sandbox is going to take us. For me, Stormdancers is well-rounded, extremely fun to use, and undeniably wild. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. There's a dim link down below if you want to give my exact build a try, or if you want to use it as the base for your own spin on it. Subscribe to the channel to keep an eye out for more videos soon, and let me know in the comments what you think of Stormdancer's Brace.